we at EduSpots, we believe, yeah, thank you. I think this, so sorry. So at EduSpots, we believe that sustainable change starts within communities, and through training, sharing of resources, and collaboration, we work with local change makers who are leading change in their communities by finding solutions to needs in their communities and also creating a safe space for children to learn every day. Now, on this note, I would like to also mention that EduSpot is already in 50 communities, so 49 in Ghana and 1 in Kenya. I will also use this opportunity to introduce our honorable and remarkable guest speakers, starting from Rosalin. So Rosalin, who is, okay, so let me mention the full name so that if there's any other Rosalin on the call. Yeah, so Rosalin Abigail Kyere-Nartey, who is the founder of Africa Dyslexia Organization. So Rosalin is the founder and executive director of the Africa Dyslexia Organization, advocating for individuals with dyslexia and related learning differences across Africa. As a dyslexia herself, who didn't start reading and writing until 17 or age 17, she is passionate about reshaping education and career pathways for learners with learning differences. Rosalin holds an MSc in International Hospitality Management and is dedicated to fostering an inclusive Africa where dyslexia individuals can thrive in education and the workforce. Rosalin, we are very happy to have you on this talk today. And audience, if we can show Rosalin some love and our appreciation, use the reaction, use the emojis. It's all there. Zoom has given it to us. Let's use it to show some love and appreciation to Rosalin. Yeah, so I'll move to our next guest speaker, who is David Swanston. David is the head teacher at St. Vincent School, UK. David Swanston is the head teacher at St. Vincent School, UK in Liverpool, specializing in education for children with visual impairment. He is a qualified teacher of the visually impaired, Pearson's National Teaching Awards Gold winner for excellence in special needs education, and Global Teacher Prize Top 10 finalist. David is passionate about developing inclusive physical education and improving access to adaptable sports for students with visual impairment globally. Thank you so much, David, for taking the time to join us on this call today. Let's show David some love. Let's show him some appreciation. Use your emojis, use your emojis. It's the time to use your emojis. Yes. Okay, so moving on to our next guest speaker, which is, I saw the advert said our own Zainab. Yeah, so this our own Zainab Yussif, who is the Gender Equity and Inclusion Coordinator at EduSpots. So Zainab holds a bachelor's degree in nutrition and is a passionate advocate for quality education, gender equality, and social justice. She has served as a fellow at Lead for Ghana, founded the Touching Lives Project, and actively volunteers with youth organizations to lead community change. As Gender Equity and Inclusion Coordinator at EduSpots, Zainab is dedicated to promoting inclusive educational opportunities for all. So let's use this moment to show Zainab some appreciation. Zainab, they said our own Zainab, but we are still very grateful for making this time to join us in this talk as a guest speaker. Now to my final guest and the chair for this EduChamp talk is Zoe Ohene-Ampofo, who is our own safeguarding and inclusion manager. Zoe is an advocate for inclusive education with over 6 years of experience in project management and international development across Ghana, Uganda, and the UK. She holds an MSc in business analytics and is a certified project management professional and Young African Leaders Initiative Fellow. So that's yearly fellow. As safeguarding and inclusion manager at EduSpots, Zoe is committed to strengthening inclusive practices and ensuring all learners can access quality educational opportunities regardless of their background or circumstances. Zoe, Thank you so much. We appreciate you and we value your time as you are joining us today, not only as a guest, but also as the chair for this meeting, or sorry, this talk. Now, I would like to give the platform to Zoe as she leads the panel session. Thank you, and don't miss me too much. I'll be back.
Thank you so much, Isaac. I was shocked when I saw my name in there. I was like, oh, I didn't know I was going to get an introduction. That was really nice. Thank you. And I'm so glad that we have really abled panelists joining us today. So, like Isaac mentioned, our theme is My Day, My Rights, Education for Every Child. So we're just going to dive right in, and we want to start with why this matters, why we're talking about this theme or this topic, right? So I'd like each of our panelists to share briefly what you believe that education for every child means to you and how that affects your daily work, and why do you think that inclusive education is not just a nice to have, but is something very essential. So maybe we could start with the only gentleman in the panelists, David.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I think I'm head teacher at St. Vincent School, which is a special school for children and young people with blindness and visual impairment. I suppose I've always been interested in inclusive education, but not just within specialist settings, across mainstream education settings as well. So I think we have to understand that, especially in the UK, the majority of our young people with sensory impairments and visual impairments are educated in the mainstream setting. So hopefully some of the things we share this evening isn't just necessarily tailored to the specialist education setting. It's also transferable in some cases to the mainstream setting. And I suppose I've always kind of conceptualized inclusion as an intersubjective experience, which means that our young people, and it's characterized by our young people having a sense of belonging and acceptance and value. And those are the three main things I've kind of conceptualized inclusion as. And hopefully we can unpick that a little bit throughout this evening and give some examples of that. But every child deserves the right to a high quality education, and some of our most disadvantaged young people deserve that even more so, I believe. And here at St. Vincent School, we offer a wide range and extensive curriculum to children with visual impairments, hearing impairments, and other SEN and disability needs as well. So thank you for having me, and hopefully my input is of some use this evening.
Absolutely. I believe that it is. It will too. Thank you so much, David. Rosalin, this question is also to you. How does that look in your daily work, and why do you think that this is an essential topic or thing that we need to consider?
Oh, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Well, this is so important because when you look at education and children going to school in general, I mean, taking me into consideration, who was labeled many times, and I felt like the school was a place that I didn't belong. It is so necessary for us to make education for everyone. And the question is education truly for everyone now? In our settings? Definitely no, but we are working on it. And why inclusive education is important is because we are all different. We all learn different. We all process things different. We all absorb things different. And therefore, we can't put people in one box and feel like this approach of teaching is applicable for all, and all children will know. Again, in Africa, especially for us, it tends to be where you even go to people who end up going into vocational schools, where we say, oh, in quotes, people that are going to vocational schools is because they are not academically good. That's why they end up going to school. But because the vocational school is more hands-on, kinesthetic, tactile learning environment, a lot of students thrive over there. And so if you look at the vocational learning approach, it's kind of really holistic for a lot of people because it's applicable, it's hands-on, and everybody can understand something. And so for us to make education really inclusive for all, we have to think broadly from instruction, broadly from environments? Are schools, buildings, are they even accessible? We have to think about all that, and that is why it is so essential. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosalin. So just having inclusivity in the very fabric of education. I like that. Thank you so much. Zainab, this question is to you too as well. Why do you think it matters, and why do you think that it is essential too? So Zainab, if you can hear me. Oh, I don't think we have Zainab on the call. Her internet is really spotty, so I think I'll just move on to the next question then. Okay, so now we wanted to try to understand the barriers, and I think that both of you have already presented on that. But Rosalin, with your background and with your organization, can you really help us paint a picture? So what does a typical school day look like for a child with dyslexia in an African classroom that is not yet inclusive? What do you think, how does it look like? Help us to paint that picture, and you could share with us some of the barriers that they might be facing right now.
All right, thank you. So before I go on to say what I want to say, I want to state that if a school is currently not inclusive, that means the children who might be dyslexic have not been identified and they are not supporting. So we wouldn't know if the child is dyslexic, but then the signs and symptoms will be there. And it's because the schools don't know, the teachers are not trained, we are not supporting these kids. So I'm going to tell, I wrote a story based on my life and what I went through. And so a child with dyslexia walks into the school in the morning. Let's call her Amma. She may be like 9, 10, with some braids or not some without a braid. She looks like every child until you watch her eyes. They are already scanning the day, almost bracing for impact. And maybe she doesn't think of it that way, but her body knows it, that she's having anxiety because lessons are coming on. The bell rings, we enter the classroom, the teacher starts reading aloud program. And for those of you who studied in Ghana or Africa, you know that where every child is going to be reading from row to row. She knows this is coming. Kids pretend not to notice. She's getting anxious, though honestly, some do not notice and whisper. She reads slowly. The letters feels like they are jumping at that space for her, but they are not really jumping. She's missing spaces, and some friends have started laughing. Why is she not able to read? Why is she losing her spaces? The teacher signs loudly, but that sound like the wildest or the loudest sound she has ever heard in the room. And then comes Amma. She thinks maybe today she should ask to use the washroom. So you may identify those of you that I want to go to the washroom immediately. And then some friends and the teachers will be like, you have been to the washroom many times now. Why do you want to go again? Then the lesson continues. It's going very fast. The chalkboard fails and gets wiped before her brain even finished processing half of the things. There's no printed handout. There's no colored markers, there's no visuals, no chance to follow at her pace. By the time she look at the blackboard and come back to her book, everything is wiped off. Now the teacher is like, you are sitting in this class. Why can't you figure out what is going on here? But she copies the words, and by the time she go back to her pen and paper, everything is gone. Teacher is overwhelmed and asking questions. You are not serious. You are being lazy. Why are you not picking up? Or he asks the whole class, do you understand the lesson? And everybody, majority of them, yes, sir. And Ame's voice is so muted because she doesn't understand it, but she cannot also voice up. Therefore, the teacher moves on, she's left behind. That is very emotional, self-confidence damaging for her, but nobody noticed her. The only thing people notice is that Amma is a slow reader, Amma is behind the class, and Amma is not good for education. So this continues, and when there is break time, friends comes over and say, slow girl, last girl, you're not good. And sometimes take her exercise and starts laughing with the red pens and the akukromoti in the book of her. This breaks Ame's heart and it damages her self-confidence. Now, when she gets home, the parents are like, why are you not like your siblings? Your junior sisters are so far ahead. Our neighbor's child is so good than you. Why are you not good? But no, for once, did anybody pause to ask, what is the matter? What is going on? How can we support you? How do you love to learn? No teacher took interest in her to ever listen to her, and she was labeled and repeated in classes and in classes, and she found herself turning almost 18 in JHS3. And this is the story of how you can identify a struggling learner who may be potentially dyslexic in an African classroom. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Rosalin, thank you so much for sharing that. Honestly, it just brought back a lot of memories, especially the bathroom breaks. I did that during maths. I did that a lot. And it's when you think about it, because these kids are in their formative years, and if we break down their spirits at the time, it really affects them when they grow. So this is a very touching story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Zainab, I wonder if she is on the call. Zainab, hi, can you hear us? Okay. Her internet is very spotty, so I'll just move on to David. So David, since you are leading a school in the UK context, I want you to share with us what exactly truly inclusive education looks like when it is done well. You could share some examples also with us from St. Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, before we start, just to
Yeah.
obviously to be clear that obviously we are a specialist school for children and young people with visual impairments. So we're quite unique in the UK context. So we're probably one of only 2 or 3 schools in the United Kingdom that is specifically designed for children and young people with visual impairments. So when I talk about inclusion or integration within our setting, it is very specialised. That might not be what you observe on a day-to-day basis in some mainstream settings across different schools and provision. So from St. Vincent's, what's really important is pupil voice. So a lot of our work is based around high quality co-production and ensuring that the young people have a voice through school council, through planning meetings, so that their voices are heard and we can design curriculum with them to ensure that they get the highest outcomes possible. So to give you an example, all young people have access to the full national curriculum in St. Vincent's, including the curriculum framework, which is a specialist curriculum of 11 areas for the visually impaired. And on top of that, quite an extensive extracurricular activity as well. Many of the challenges that our young people with visual impairments face within the mainstream setting is that their ability to take part in those high quality extracurricular activities just don't exist. So, for example, here at St. Vincent's, all young people are getting full access to high quality physical education. They are swimming every week. They're getting one-to-one braille support, tutor support, habilitation, life skills, assistive technology, touch typing, all these sorts of enriched activities alongside their national curriculum. So for me, whether we're talking about inclusion, integration, or inclusion as a subjective experience, our young people really have that sense of belonging in a school community, a sense of belonging in a specialist school community where their voices are heard. And when they have challenges, we have an expert team that can help and guide them through that. If we take, for example, the most common cause of childhood visual impairment in the UK at the moment, it's actually cerebral visual impairment. So that is a brain-based visual impairment. It's not physical damage to the eye. So the higher prevalence now we're finding in the UK is the number of children with CVI is around about 1 in 30 children. So that means for the many mainstream settings in the UK, it is highly likely that they will have a child in their class with visual processing difficulties. So that's when we talk about cluttering classrooms, making walls calmer, thinking about the pace of the lessons. So to put that into a practical context, you might find a young person who likes basketball. Now, in the sight classification system, they would pass a standard visual acuity test. So that child with CVI would go into ophthalmology or into the clinical setting and would potentially pass a visual acuity test. However, the nature of their visual impairment will change and fluctuate depending on conditions, environments, and classrooms. A large classroom, a large noisy classroom of a particular temperature, that child's visual functioning will be different if they're in, say, a smaller classroom. So it's very, very complex and it's very difficult to start to unpick this, but we have started because what we're finding now is that a lot of these visual processing difficulties are manifesting in different ways in classroom settings and different subject settings. And I don't think we've truly grasped the volume or the number of children who have a cerebral visual impairment. I think when we talk about visual impairment and blindness, we automatically assume ocular and damage to the physical eye. We are not discussing ventral processing, dorsal stream processing, brain-based visual impairments. And that in itself comes with quite a unique challenge. So inclusion, integration, the way we discuss those contexts, but like I said at the start of the discussion, inclusion is an intersubjective experience. We want our children in St. Vincent's here to have a sense of belonging, a community, and being valued, and ensuring that they get the best opportunities to leave school and be active citizens in the UK.
Wow, thank you so much, David. I just learned something. I didn't know that visual, like the sights or like visual, like seeing, like it fluctuates. I did not know this. This is interesting and it's complex. I think we should all just learn more.
It is a very complex
Yeah.
area. There's so much that we could unpick this evening around visual impairment and blindness, but the most common cause, the highest common cause of visual impairment, childhood visual impairment now is cerebral visual impairment, which is brain-based. 1 in 30 children, which means, yes, it's really, really important that our children who need access to braille, habilitation, long cane skills, life skills, they have all that, they've got all that, but we do have numbers of other children and young people, particularly within mainstream younger settings, elementary, key stage 1, 2, that their visual processing and their visual difficulties are not being picked up. Now, there's some screening tools that we can use to pick this up. The Austin assessment tool, which has been designed in New Zealand, is fantastic. Austin assessment tool, it's an iPad. It's a very simple screening tool that children can use, and you can start to pick up those eye difficulties. But it's very complex and it's at the early stages. But the most important thing is that we're having these discussions around it now, and hopefully different practitioners and specialist teachers can be more informed in that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, David. I think that for us, we could also start sparking this conversation because I think it's very important. And I'm sure that there are people here in Ghana who encounter this, but they don't even know what it is. So thank you so much for sharing this. Thank you. Okay, so now I'll be moving straight into the practical section. So I want you, our panelists, to help us. So let's say that if a teacher is watching this, right, and they want to make their classrooms more inclusive, what is one thing that each of you would say that they can start with? So just one pro tip from you, and maybe David, since you are already off mute, you could start.
Talk to the child. Talk to the child. Have that discussion with them, co-production, really listen to the child. We have to be very careful of ableist assumptions, that we feel that children with disabilities can move like able-bodied people can. So we have to kind of reduce those ableist assumptions, listen to that child's voice, take it from them, and work with them to design curriculum, create spaces. A nice example we did here, really, really simple. We pick some rooms at random sometimes, and our young people co-design that classroom in the way that they want to access it, whether that's for a breakout room or a sensory room or a room for reading for leisure, pleasure. But it's really, really important, very simple, listen to the child. Reduce those ableist assumptions and listen to the child.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David. It sounds so basic, but so important. Yeah, because they know better. They know exactly how they feel. So thank you for sharing that. Rosalin, what would you say is your pro tip?
I agree with David. Listen to the child. And if you heard the story I read, I said, At no point did anybody stop to ask Amma like a question as to how can you learn? So we listen to children more. But most importantly, I realized when it comes to dyslexia or any related learning disability, a teacher cannot help if they are not trained on it. And schools will not be able to make any changes if the awareness is not there. So when it comes into the context of Africa, I would say we need more awareness. And then beyond awareness, we need to invest in proper teacher training for both in-service teachers. Before they graduate and come into the schools to work, they need to be trained. They need to run a model, really not just a brush-on course, but an intentional model that gets teachers to know, to be able to identify, to be able to screen, to be able to profile their learners within the classroom and know that these are my learners and this is how these learners love to learn, and do groupings. With that way, you are able to kind of modify your approach of teaching to be tailored to each child. So for example, I'm a kinesthetic tactile learner, and I went to school where in the schools were mostly reading and writing. And so that is why I was known as quote unquote Utiabon, and I'll translate it as blockheaded for David to understand. But I wasn't. I'm very smart. And until I found myself in an environment that I was using my hands to learn and to practice, that was where my ability started picking up. And so if the teachers are not trained to be able to teach in a differentiated approach, we will not be able to support children with learning dyslexia or any of the related learning differences. Another way also is we need data, okay? The reason why a lot of issues on learning disability have not been taken serious in African context is because we don't have data on it. Dyslexia affects 1 in 10 in UK, 1 in 5 in US. What is Africa's own? We don't know it yet. I tell you, if we have a grant to do an assessment or a screening across board, we might end up saying 1 in 3 in Africa. Why? Teachers are not teaching language properly. And dyslexia as a language-based disability, when you're not teaching language properly, then the students are left behind. So we need to teach properly. And as we are teaching properly, we will be identify those students who are struggling and be able to also support them. So from teacher training, policy, research, investment into this area is highly critical.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Rosalin. I think I'm actually really excited I was excited when you said the data bit, because we need that, because data can also help us to predict the amount or the number of people or students who might be affected, in a year or 2 or 3 to come, so we are better prepared. But like you said, we just need to spark the conversation now, but we are not there at all.
Yeah, can I just add one more, which doesn't take any form of investment to do? If you're a teacher right now listening, or an educator, or even a parent, one thing we can do is that if you don't even know what the issue is with the child, stop the labeling. Who told you the child is lazy? Who told you the child is not smart? Stop those labeling, because that labeling damages self-confidence. And when the child's confidence is destroyed and you put fears in them, even when you start doing intervention, it will not work because you've already damaged them. So the one you don't need any money investment to do is stop the labeling and be interested to find solutions.
Thank you so much. Yes, stop the labeling. Encourage the kids. Speak to them, like David said. Thank you both so much. So now we're going to have an interactive moment. I wonder if anyone has any questions. So I'm just going to ask you, the audience, to share a challenge that you faced with inclusive education in your context, so that our panelists can give you some insights or share that with us. So if you have feel free to talk, and let's make use of the knowledge that our panelists have today. Let me see. Okay, not yet, but yes, Isaac.
Yeah, so yes, I think I had a question, but Rosalin came in to mention that we should stop the labeling. But I wanted to ask, when I was teaching back in 2020 in Bonre, as a rural community school in the Ashanti region, there's this group of learners who it's like, I don't know, so the teachers always tag them as they intentionally don't want to learn. And anytime you give them work to do and you give them an exercise and you go and say, okay, let me check your exercise, they are there maybe drawing in the book or something, they look at your face and then they laugh. Or they'll be like playing some kind of trick. So it is believed that way there, or or you have intentionally decided that they don't want to be great when it comes to academics. And so the teachers will say, we are bonbon for, like they've decided that they do not want to be great at all. So I wanted to ask Rosalind, are they learners who, like, so okay, we know that we have dyslexia. So it's just like a child realizing that we have dyslexia. And to be, like, even if you don't want to learn, say, oh, me, I'm dyslexia, or that is why I'm not seeing them. Maybe he has heard about the story that, okay, words can fly. And they say, oh, me, I can see the words flying. That is why. So I just wanted to ask if there are learners who, like, intentionally just do not want to learn or something. But like, yeah, so I would like to ask that question, even though you've answered that we should stop labeling them, but if there's anything else you want to add to make this clear.
If I was in your class, if I was a child and I was in your class, you'd probably say the same thing. But no, I wasn't intentionally doing that. Let's just look at this. Which child do you think will wake up, take a shower, put on uniform, come and sit in the class and say, for me, I came here to carry last? Which child would want to be in the first 5, the first 10, the good students? No child really wants to be that person. And so I remember those times when you asked us to be taking things from the board. By the time I go to the board and come back, I've forgotten. But you come and pick my book, and the side of the book, I'm kind of drawing. To what I'm drawing, I don't know. So if you are the teacher, you might be like, but I'm teaching. And you are sitting here and you are drawing. It's because my mind is not with you. It's not like I'm not interested. You're either going too fast. I'm not understanding what you're doing. I'm bored because you're not teaching to suit the way I can absorb the information. And some of the students also, the reason why they are laughing, they are probably laughing because they know what is coming. That's either you're going to cane them or you are going to ask them to go and stand outside. So that's why they've developed that body, that skin to absorb any harsh thing that you are bringing. That's why they are doing like that. It's not intentional. Match it, go there and start teaching them the way they understand you. They will love to learn. It is because they are not understanding you. That is why. That is why I believe, I haven't so far come across a child that has made up, especially children, that has made up their mind that for me, dear, no, I'm not coming to learn. If maybe at the university level, maybe we can find them because they want to go and party. But for children, they want to learn, but you're not teaching them the way they can learn. That's why.
Thank you so much, Rosalin. I think that this is why fun learning is actually important. So at that stage, every child likes to play, so then they will learn that way. Thank you. Isaac, thank you also for your question. Rita, I see your hand up. Can you kindly unmute and ask your question?
Hello, good evening.
Hi,
Yeah,
Queen.
in fact, I'm really happy and I share in the thought of Auntie. I have a learner in my class. I'm a lower grade teacher in KG2 here in Ghana. I have a kid, she's a girl. She's very good in drawing, but her writing time, it can take the whole day for her to write just a line. But you can give her a full book of drawing and she will draw everything. So such learners, if you don't understand them, you always say, you're a lazy student or what. No, but their interest is also somewhere. And as she was saying, You write something on the board. By the time she look on the board and try to write in the book, she will lose focus. So it's like, initially I thought she had an eye problem, but I go to see that no, that's not her fault. Hers is about drawing. So now it's like I help her. If it is writing, I just give her extra time. We'll be doing something else. She will also be doing her thing. But in her own way, when she finishes, then we continue with wherever we ended. So I think it's up to the teachers that we understand them as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. But I'm just curious, David, do you believe or do you think that Rita's submission ties in one way or the other to visual impairment that you shared earlier? I'm just curious to know.
I think you'd have to assess the nature of the handwriting against the drawing, because these are two different aspects. It'd be interesting to look at contrast sensitivity, what we're drawing on, what we're using, the tools we're using. It's difficult for me to assess without that, but obviously the cognition between, we've had some students where they really enjoy art, you know, but handwriting, but that depends on the nature of the tools you're using, reading slopes, color of the paper, size of the lines, can they follow that line? Are they using a pencil? Are they using a thick pen? Keep it simple, try some different activities, some tasks.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm just going to read Farida's comment here. She says, in Nigeria, where she's from, the labeling is a serious issue, and the child's self-confidence takes a big hit. That's so true because they are kids, and because when we start that way, when we start othering them or labeling them, it really affects their self-esteem, like she's saying, and they grow up with it. It takes them a lot of work to really start to believe in themselves again. So thank you, Rosalin, for that point. It's a really good one. Okay, so David, I'm going to ask you this first question on it's a question on like your systems and your strategies. So since you're a head teacher, I'm just curious to know how you get buy-in from your entire staff regarding the inclusive practices that you currently execute. So how do you support the teachers who are probably resistant or fearful about these inclusive practices? How do you approach that?
We have regular practical ongoing support for teachers. So we have the luxury of being able to put them onto quite a high level of qualification for the mandatory qualification. So if you teach in the UK with young people with visual impairments, you have to do an additional 2 years of master's degree level after teacher training. So they've got that high level practical support straight away. But and you're creating a culture of professional growth where teachers have got advocacy over what they want to try and deliver to an extent, where we're giving them the confidence to teach. Some of the classes that they'll be teaching, you'll be teaching children who are large print users, you'll be teaching children who have hearing impairments, might be sign supported English, and then you have a brailleist in the class. So that's a lot of differentiation within one small class. People will automatically assume small class sizes, 4 or 5, that's quite easy. That's not, because you could be differentiating 5 different tasks across 5 different methods and approaches. So, but you're creating a culture in school of professional growth. You want teachers to grow in their profession, no matter what stage of that, but be excited by teaching within the school that they're in here. This is a very unique school. There's very few like it in the country, and it's a very special place to work. It's challenging at times, but that comes with culture, creating that culture of trust where teachers trust the senior leaders in the school to be able to progress through.
Okay, amazing. So if I hear you correctly, the teachers already come on board very prepared and enthused about it already.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it will be a completely different model. So if all our teachers are qualified teachers, obviously, but on top of that, if you do want to work in a school like St. Vincent's, you have to carry out an additional 2 years of training, which is specialist training to teach children with visual impairment. So that will be being able to teach Braille, assistive technology, adaptations, tactile learning, multidisciplinary, multisensory approaches to learning, policy and practice, curriculum frameworks, statutory guidance. So you're getting a lot of support you do have to be qualified before you begin, and then we give you that additional training. So that's a really good incentive for staff to know that they're being invested in straight away from the minute they support the children.
Amazing. That's good to know. Thank you so much, David. Rosalin, this would be your question. I'm curious to know what policy changes or any advocacy wins that you believe would be like the biggest difference for children with dyslexia and any other learning differences in Africa. So policy changes or advocacy wins, what would you say would cause the biggest difference?
I think both. From the work that we do at the Africa Dyslexia Organization, some of the great impact we've done was through advocacy to the government level, where we're calling for policy changes, recognitions. Currently, just using Ghana as an example, dyslexia, dyscalculia, or dysgraphia, or dyspraxia, none of these is listed as part of the disabilities. And so when you read the inclusive education policy, you could see that there were only focus on issues with physical disabilities. That is what our government is investing in. Until we came in 5 years ago and was able to be part of the team to review the inclusive education policy, which we made recommendations to it. Still, it has not been recognized officially yet, but at least the good news is some changes have happened. And one of them is if you currently write in BEC and a child is officially diagnosed with dyslexia or dyscalculia, there are accommodations that WAEC will provide for the child. So we just had 2 of our students who wrote the BEC this year who did it oral. They did it oral instead of writing. And so some of these changes are key, and we're hoping other African countries will also embrace it. Listen, dyslexics, it comes with its challenges, but then these students also have enormous potentials within them. Some of the world millionaires, billionaires are dyslexics or students with who are neurodivergent. Okay, and so what it is if we don't recognize it within Africa, it means that we're going to be losing a lot of potentials, because it is so easy for the child to end up on the streets. And then the next thing is going to prison, because they will go and end up doing something, and then that will cost them a lot. So if we don't tackle it at a high level, policy level, then investment, training, support, then we are going to be losing these children along the way. So they work both ways. And the most important is also awareness, because mind you, we are in Africa. So any type of disability, there is what? Stigmatization to it. And so the awareness helps parents to understand, then they are able to open up and look for support for the child and be able to partner hand in hand and work with the school for the betterment of the child. So if you leave one out, if you leave the awareness out, advocacy, yes, it works, the policies are there, but then the parents will be given the hard time. So it all goes hand in hand.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rosalin. I was just thinking about students enjoying the fruits of your hard labor, and they don't know just how much people are fighting for them. But thank you so much. This is it's great work you're doing, both of you, honestly. Zainab, I wonder if you are with us, because I do have some questions for you. Please say something if you can hear me. Zainab, can you hear me?
Hi, everyone.
Hello?
Hi, Zoe and everyone.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Hello,
Zainab,
can you hear
yes.
me? Yes. So, yes, I'm with you, but I
No,
didn't hear
I
your
was just about
question.
to ask you a
My
question. I
network.
just wanted to confirm that you're here, that you can hear us.
Okay, I'm here. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So my question to you is, what does inclusive education strategy look like for you in your position as the inclusion coordinator here at EduSpots? But when you're designing these programs, when you're designing from the from the conception, what are certain things that you want to incorporate at an organizational level so that the people in the sports get to enjoy? Should I come again with my question? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
All right.
But then I'm having some breakages here. I'm just hoping that everyone can hear me throughout my explanation. Yeah. Hello.
Zainab, we can hear you.
Okay,
Proceed.
okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, and thank you for the question, Zoe. So, with me, when I think about inclusive education strategy at an organizational level like EduSpots, I would say that at EduSpots, inclusion education is part of our organizational DNA, if I can put it that way. So, with other organizations, inclusive strategy, we can look at combining community engagement, equitable resources, flexible programs, safeguarding, and all that. So at EduSports, we, hello everyone.
We
Hi,
can hear
Zainab, we
you.
can hear you.
Okay,
Go
okay.
on.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much. So at EduSports, inclusive education, we our learning hubs are locally owned by our catalysts. So with this, it means that education doesn't just feel imposed. So we don't impose things on our catalyst. We make sure that they own these activities in their sports. Now, when it comes to diverse learning like needs, we also make sure our programs, our activities have diverse learning strands to meet different needs. Like other guest speakers have explained, so learners have different needs, and at EduSports we have different strands that addresses these needs. So we have the Ignite Equity strand, which I lead, which is focused on gender equity. We have the Digilate, which is focused on literacy and digital literacy. Then we have the STEM aspect, which is focused on the science-related activities and sustainability. And EduCase is also focused on early year literacy. So when you look at these diverse learning strands, it contributes to the inclusive aspects we are looking at because we make sure that it meets different needs. Now, with resources, we also make sure that our digitalization project is a big part of our inclusive strategy. So EduSport distributes tablets, projectors, laptops, and also Wi-Fi keys to many sports just to make sure that there's the inclusive aspect in learning. Now, with leadership development, we don't just leave our catalysts to guide learners, but we also make sure that we provide capacity building programs for these catalysts and their respective sports. So, for example, now that we are having the talk, catalysts are involved. They are learning the models, the strategies they can use to lead sessions in their respective clubs. When it comes to designing activities for catalysts to guide learners, we just don't focus on the theory aspect. We also make sure that we look at the pedagogy aspects of our activities where we include fun. So learners will learn, but in the process, they will have fun, enjoy what they are learning. So with inclusive education, safeguarding should also be like a key part of it. So at EduSport, safeguarding and sustainability is also dear to our hearts. And I'm sure that other organizations are also contributing their value towards inclusive education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you so much. Okay, so we are drawing near to the end of this meeting, but I would like to ask our panelists, maybe starting with you, Rosalin, what can our EduSpots catalysts and everyone who is watching right now do to advance inclusive education in their sphere of influence? What can each of us do? And yeah, you can just add your closing remarks and yeah, and then after you, maybe David can go next.
Okay, thank you so much. So for the catalyst, I mean, one of the ways is to show up in programs like this, all of you to come and listen in and ask questions. Don't let some opportunities like this slide by. So they should be interested when you put up programs, and they should all come and learn. Secondly, when it comes to they're making a lot of impact. I say the internet is also your friend. Okay. So before EduSpots themselves organize something like this, there's so many resources on the internet. Don't just use the phone on Facebook alone. Go and find resources to enrich yourself, but know that every child that is coming into your spots for you to support and guide, every child has the potential, and every child is there the right to education, and you can make a difference regardless of where you are located in Ghana. So
Nah.
have that opportunity to impact somebody's life. Don't take it as a joke, take it serious, and you never know where that child will end up to. So thank you so much for having me today, and it's been great hanging out with the rest of the panels and you team as well.
Thank you so much, Rosalin. We are so glad to have you here with us, David.
Yeah, thank
What
you.
would you say? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I would disagree with Rosalin, especially with the catalysts here who are representing the spots. Engage in the programs that are offered to you. Take advantage of those programs that are offered to you. Share your stories. Share your success stories of the young people that you've worked with, and celebrate that. And then and reach out for more ideas that can help with your spots. And I know that spots can be different across different areas. That will help you to support your spots. And if you've got any questions or any practical support you need help with, reach out to some of the members in this group who can help you with that, whether that be through literacy or physical activity or community engagement, or we've got a lot on global issues at the moment in terms of biodiversity and sustainability. So yeah, share your stories with your spots, take on board any training you can, and celebrate the success of the student kids, the children, young people you're working with. So, but thanks again for having me.
Thank you, David, so much. And last but not least, Zainab.
Okay, thank you everyone for your patience. I know my network wasn't friendly. Yes, so I'll just add up by also saying that we should start with awareness. So we don't have to wait for the big policy. Our voices matter, they matter, and they are powerful tools we can use even on social media to create awareness and all that. So we can also use our teaching and facilitation methods to make sure that learners understand what we are teaching. So also with resources, though inclusion starts with the relationship we build with these learners, but providing resources is a must too. So with resources, we can also initiate something like a resource drive, for example, a book drive, where we can seek support from people to donate book and other resources that will help strengthen the engagement aspects in our sports. Yes, so thank you everyone for your contribution. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, Zainab, and Rosalin. I just wonder if anyone has any questions for us now. Yeah, so Farida's asking, what's your one takeaway from today? So if you
No, I'm
have
asking
any,
people to contribute, but Rafiatu has a question in the chat.
sorry?
No, that question was for anyone who wants to share
Yeah,
their takeaway, but Rafiatu has a
yeah.
question in the chat.
Yeah, I'm just going to read her comments out loud. When you have employed all strategies to help a child with dyslexia, but still they remain indifferent, is it okay to let the child off education and encourage them into entrepreneurship or other ideas? I think that Rosalind, this question is yours.
Well, yes, and you have right, and you have an example here. So, for example, I wasn't good in the mainstream at all. That's what they said. But when I ventured into vocational education, which is more like what she's saying, entrepreneurship. I excelled. I did culinary. I became a chef, and later I became a hospital. I went to university, did hospitality management, did my master's in hospitality. And now I'm a global hospitality consultant where I help build hotels. The same girl that is said wasn't good. So that is an example to you. Today, one of our students graduated from Design Technology Institute where she did web applications and robotics. And just 2 years ago, she wasn't good. She was so frustrated in the school. And we just decided to change her school and let her go into the more of the TVET approach. 2 years down the line, she graduated today, flying colors, so excellent. She has a job already. She can design websites. She can do apps. She can do so many things. So that is my explanation to your question. It is possible. But before that, before you get to that stage, it shouldn't be where you are labeling them and telling them you cannot amount to anything. Therefore, you should go that pathway. That shouldn't be the conversation.
Thank you so much, Rosalin. Ooh, oh my gosh. Thank you all the panelists, all three of you, David, Zainab and Rosalin. It's been such an insightful session. For me, I've learned so much. From what David said about really having a conversation with the kids because they know exactly what they're experiencing. But you, from the outside looking in, you might think as though they don't want to learn, they're lazy, this, that, and the third. But just having a conversation will help you to better understand the situation they're in. And Rosalind, your point of, let's not label them because it really affects our self-confidence is such a crucial point. And Zainab, thank you so much. That I think it's very, very important for all organizations to have this inclusive education really interwoven in the whole organizational structure and strategy, which I think is very important. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to chair today's meeting with you, really amazing panelists and everyone else. Thank you so much for your contribution and for letting this be really, really lively. Okay, so there's a feedback form for this event. Farida has just shared that. Okay, so Rita says she needs to put in more to help her learners. Yes, yes, yes. More work doesn't end here. But I'm sure that Rosalind and David, maybe they're on LinkedIn and maybe they can reach out to you, maybe have conversations with them.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they'll be very happy to. Yes. Thank you all so much for your time and for you being very attentive and following through this conversation. I was your chair. I'm Zoe, the Safeguarding and Inclusion Manager at EduSpots, and I'm handing over back to Isaac. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Also, I was overjoyed. I couldn't find my own mute button. All right. So I'll just do a short announcement, then I would just do a vote of thanks to our panelists. Now, so as you can all see on the screen, on 2nd to 9th December, something big is coming, and it's a movement to expand access to learning spaces and also a moment to double your impact. So from the 2nd to 9th of December, EduSpots is going to start our big gift campaign where every donation, every penny you give will be doubled. So watch out for that space on all our social media platforms. Now, also, we have our social media links. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on X, which is formerly Twitter, and we are on LinkedIn. So if you have not following us on any of the platforms, please use your phone now, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to LinkedIn and type EduSpots, and then there's only one EduSpots, and then you take that time to join us. So this is why I say thank you to Rosalin, thank you to David, thank you to Zainab and Zoe for taking the time. Your presence here show our shared commitment in ensuring that every learner, regardless of their background, have access to opportunity to learn, grow, and then also create their own future. And this session was so enlightening, even for me. Yeah, who would have thought as I'm a student, I'm there, or like, so I like the final question that Rafi had to ask, that if you've tried all options, what else should you do? And sometimes it's like Rosalind is reading my mind. And I was like, some teachers do it like, hey, what about carpenter? But she said that nah, we shouldn't go that way. We should have a nice way of going about it. So thank you all and for taking part in this talk. And we would like to continue on our WhatsApp platform, our shared learning platform. And if you have any questions, you have anything, just ask on the Spotlight platform. And as Zoe said, Rosalin and David are on LinkedIn. You can just follow them and then ask them any question you have. And when you have the time, they are going to respond back to you. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.